Hey guys, it's Mary here and welcome back to my channel for another tutorial. And today I'm going to show you how I create my Sims 4 thumbnails, and I'm going to be doing this using Photoshop. You can use whatever photo editing software that you're comfortable with or you can afford or you have. Personally for me, I just love using Photoshop because it's so much easier for me and I've been using it for the past few months and I just really enjoy it. So first of all, we're going to start in the Sims 4. So I'm going to show you what I do in the Sims 4 to get really good quality thumbnails and very sharp edits as well. Firstly, you want to do is you want to create your sim, so you can do whatever sim that you want to create. I've just recently created a sim, so I'm going to go and find it on my gallery and then put them into my household. Most of my sims don't normally come up here, especially ones I don't have custom content, so I'm going to go ahead and go advanced and click include custom content. These are all the sims that I've made that include custom content. So this is a sim that I want to use today for this thumbnail and I want to edit, so I'm going to go ahead and place household and replace it. And yes, and here is my sim. So as you can see, she has a lot of CC on her and I want my thumbnail to grasp her best features, which is her eyes and her hair, because I really do like that. So before I start taking screenshots, I'm going to go ahead and go to options menu, go to game options and go to my graphics options here. My resolution is 1280 by 720, which is the YouTube normal default thumbnail, but also is just good HD layout for a nice thumbnail. For my computer that I'm using for this tutorial, my settings are really high because my computer can handle it, and I've always had the settings ever since I got this new computer, and my game runs smoothly with the setting on in live mode as well. But if your computer can't handle this in live mode, then only change this for a screenshot that you're about to take. So I leave mine ultra high. I don't take compressed sims or laptop mode or anything like that. I just leave it ultra high. Obviously when you finish taking thumbnails, if your computer can't handle these settings, then drop it back down to low or medium, whichever one you have it on. But this is what is best for me and that's what works for me, so I keep it as that. And then I'm going to go on to screen capture, and these are all like video capture and all that kind of stuff, and I don't really use video capture, so I don't really need that. But all I think about is a picture capture, because I actually use the letter C on my keyboard to capture it in the Sims 4, which is the normal default capture key, but I use that to capture my screenshots because it's more HD. Make sure you untick capture UI, because that makes your background pretty much plain, so it has none of these icons and stuff like that over here, so that it only shows the sim and you can grasp the best features for it. So let's now go on to the sim. I always use a plain background because the Sims 4 default background is a gradient background, and I don't like using gradient backgrounds for screenshots. You may like that for your creating videos, but because for me, I just like a plain background because it's easier to focus on the sim. So I've always had this plain white background, and I'll leave the link to it in the description box down below. And I'm using the standstill mod, so you can get this mod as well. I'll leave it also down below. So my sim is pretty much ready and it's pretty nice. So I also use a nice plain background because it's easier to edit it out when you go to Photoshop or any other editing software that you have. So I go all close, but before I start taking photos, I normally make the sim speed slow. So I go Control-Shift-C and I come up with this little box up here, and I write create a sim, clock, speed, spacebar, and I normally do 0.5 or something. I'm not really sure. I just mess around with it till I'm comfortable with the way that the sim is going. But also make sure that you have installed some kind of pose traits. If you don't have pose traits, then you can go and find it on Mod the Sims Resource, or any other sites that have custom content pose traits. But I'll link the ones that I use, if I can remember them, in the description box down below, so you guys can get it for yourself. I do have loads on for different traits, so it's up to you what you want to do. If you want to just do a plain straight pose like this where it's just her face straight up, then that's really up to you. But for me, I like to have different poses so I can know a lot to work with. And FYI, I take a lot of screenshots so that I can have a lot of options to pick from. So here are her default traits that I made her for, but you can change that around. As long as you don't save it, you can change it. So I'm gonna use the traits family orientated because it has different poses like this, and geek. So I'm gonna use the geek trait because there's a lot of different poses to use. As you guys can see, when you move out and in again, the sim goes back to the default pose, which is a standstill pose if you have the standstill mod, and that's not good if you want to take a screenshot. So what I always do is to get really close like this, because I like a really close up screenshot depending how I feel, but sometimes I do it at this level here. So what I do is I get a pose to start, I don't move it at all, and then I just press C when I feel more comfortable, and depending on how slow the pose is, I just take multiple screenshots like this. I press C and this comes up right there to tell you that the screenshot screenshot is taken, but that won't come up in your screenshot itself, so you have nothing to worry about. And then I take another one here and I use the full stop or the comma key to rotate her a little bit just to get the right angle for her and stuff, and rotate her back again and then rotate her again. So I've taken multiple screenshots whenever I feel like, and I just get as close as possible, and then I can either stop it by moving close and then rotating her just a little bit with my full stop key, and then I do the pose again to get close to her. And don't mind the first pose, I'm not really bothered about that first pose, I just start wherever. So when she moves I rotate it and then I pose it and then I take the screenshot and stuff like that. So it really depends on what I fancy, but yeah, that's basically what I do. So I hope this was easy for you guys. I'm now gonna show you what I do in my photo editing software. We are here in my desktop, so what I'm gonna do is to open up Photoshop and I'm gonna show you what to do from there. So we go up to File and New. I already have a preset saved, but I have the YouTube default preset, which is 1280 by 720. So this is the preset that you use to get a perfect size thumbnail on your YouTube videos, and I have it all saved here. So I just click OK. You keep the resolution as 300 because that's the HD kind of quality resolution that you want it to be like, and then keep it as transparent so you have a lot of different things to work with. And I press OK, so it comes up with this nice preset here, and I press Control and Dash to zoom out, and here it is. So what I'm going to do now is to go into my files and look for a background to use. I'm really picky on how I do my thumbnails, depending on the sim or depending on what mood I'm in or what kind of sim it is. Like it really depends. So I tend to go for a nice bright vibrant thumbnail, and I'm gonna find a nice background that suits her. So let's go for this awesome cloud anime scenery wallpaper, and you can find this on Google. Just type in anime scenery or anime wallpaper, something like that, so it'll come up with some nice lovely background to use. So I'm gonna go ahead and use this and drag it into my Photoshop, and it's gonna place exactly on it. It may be different for you, but I'm gonna stretch it out a little bit because I don't want the full thing to be on there. I want only certain colors and stuff, so let me stretch it out a little bit and then make it right in the middle, and then I'm gonna go ahead and place that. I like to mess around with some colors, so I'm gonna go ahead and go to adjustments and then go to brightness and contrast and bring up the brightness just a little bit. Just I like it nice and bright. The brighter the thumbnail and the more eye-catching it is, the easier that people will see it, and also it will attract people to come and see your video. But I don't want to make it too bright like this because then it makes it sore on the eyes. So I'm gonna keep it roughly around 70. And then I'm going to add a little bit of contrast, keep it at 30, and then add a little bit more brightness just to make it a little bit nicer. Then I'm going to go back to adjustments and then add some vibrance, and probably bring that up all the way to 40. It depends on what picture you're going for. And then I am going to go to hue and saturation and add a little bit different colors to it, depending how I feel. I don't want to make it too harsh. Oh, this is quite nice. I like this color here. And let's go ahead and add a little bit of saturation, and that's good. And I'm gonna change the brightness bit a little bit, make it a little bit brighter. So this is the background I'm gonna go for now. So I'm gonna go ahead and click on this, press Control, and then click on the other layers and right click and then merge the layers together so it's stuck like this, and it looks really nice. Then I'm going to go to filter and then go to blur and then go to Gaussian blur, and then I'm going to blur it to roughly 8. I normally do it between 5 and 10 because that's the suitable amount. I don't want to make it too blurry because it makes it harsh in the eyes. Then I'm going to go and press OK, and here is my nice background. And the next thing I would like to do is to add little orbs or circly things on there. I always find pictures that have orbs on them, like something like this pink thing with orbs. I changed this around a little bit myself. I edited it, or you can get polka dots and stuff. I like using this one here because I just like the color. It's loads of orbs as well. So I normally put it over, stretch it out a little bit, move it into the middle, and then place that. Then I go over here to the blend mode for the layer and then click on it and then scroll down to probably soft light or overlay. Overlay is a little bit too harsh for me, but you can use that and then make the opacity quite small. Probably screen. Screen is a nice pinky color, so I like that. Or lighten. No, I don't like lighten. I'm going to use soft light because it's probably the nicest. And I'm going to drop the opacity down to roughly 75 and then leave on that as it is. And then I'm going to go to filter and then go to blur and Gaussian blur again, and then I'm gonna drop the Gaussian blur for the orbs down to 3 because I don't want the orbs to be too outstanding, but I don't want it to be faint, so I'll drop it to 2. 2 looks nice, so I'm gonna keep it as 2. Next thing I want to do is to go and get my screenshots up. I'm now going to go to File, Open, and then I'm gonna go and find my screenshots in Electronic Arts, The Sims 4, and Screenshot. Scroll down to the ones that I want. I might pick multiple, so it really depends on what the pose looks like or how I feel. Let me see what pose I like. I like this pose here, and I'm gonna go ahead and press Control and add this pose as well, and most likely add this pose too, and then press OK, and it should all come up on the top here on my Photoshop. And as you can see, it's really crisp, it's really HD, and it looks really nice. So what I'm going to do now is on each of the screenshots that I have, I'm going to go ahead and right click on the background, which has a little lock thing, right click it, and then say layer from background, which allows me to edit the background or edit the picture itself. So if you have that little lock thing against it, just right click and layer from background, and then press OK. Same thing in other screenshots as well, layer from background and click OK. I'm most likely going to use 2, or if not, maybe just 1, depends how the photo turns out. But yeah, I'm now going to go to over here into this eraser looking tool here, right click it, and then click on magic eraser tool. This is to get rid of my background, and this is really easy for those who have a plain solid color background. If you have a gradient background, that's the reason why I suggest that you get a solid color, because it makes it easier to edit it out. And I'm gonna go and keep it as the tolerance 50%, and then click on the background here. But if your sim like this is wearing white, it would get rid of the clothes that she's wearing. So what I'm going to do is to now edit and undo magic eraser, and then drop it back down to probably 20%, and then press enter, and then I'm going to try again. And as you can see, it grasps everything apart from her clothes. And then I'm going to zoom in and probably do the same for this little gap here in between her hair and her clothes. And that is it. The rest I'll edit whilst I'm doing the background thumbnail and stuff. So now what I'm going to do is to go ahead and go to filter, and then click on sharpen, and then I'm just going to go and click on sharpen to sharpen it once. As you can see, it's become really HD, and that's what I like. I like the HD quality in my thumbnails, and I like the sim to stand out a lot more so that people can see her facial features a little bit more. And that is basically the erasing tool of the background done. I'm now going to go and press this option here, and then move the sim over to my thumbnail background over here, and then drag it back down here, and here she is. Don't worry, it's not finished because I still have a lot to do. So what I'm going to do now is to go ahead and click Control T to get this board around her so that I can stretch her out. Don't stretch her too much to the point where she is distorted, because then it looks really bad and it's not even. So I like to stretch it in the same kind of angle from this corner here so that it keeps her right. So I'm not stretching her this way, but I'm not stretching her up this way either. So stretching her as I go into the corners like this, so it keeps the same format and the same resolution. So as you can see, I'm just stretching and stretching. I like my sims to appear very big on the thumbnail, so I will edit this around a little bit. And there you go. And then I'll go and press this and apply the transformation. Move her down here, and probably move her to the side somewhere over here. Maybe rotate her, it's really up to me. I'm gonna press Control T again, and then I'm gonna make her a little bit slimmer because it looks like her face is a little bit stretched, and I don't like that. And I'm also gonna try and rotate her just a little bit to make it look like she's slanting somehow without revealing too much of the cropped layers at the bottom here. And drop it down a little bit here, and move her a bit to the side, and then keep her as that. And now what I'm going to do is to work on this wisp in her hair and just like the other details that are needed. So first thing I'm going to do is to right click on the layer that the sim is on, go to blending options, and then I'm going to add a background shadow and also a stroke to her. So now let's go do background shadow, and as you can see, it makes her stand out a lot more, but I'm going to go and change this just a little bit. So I'm going to keep it as multiply and opacity at 75%, and I'm going to go ahead and drag the distance just a bit, not too much. I don't want it to be like out of place. And then I'm going to add a spread just a bit, and let's go add the size just a bit, and then I'm going to drop down the distance again and drop down the spread again, and the size just keep roughly the same. Go now to stroke, and as you can see, it adds a little stroke on the outside. This is what I like having. I like having stroke in my sims. I don't know why, but I just think it looks nicer. I've been getting used to doing this. Before I didn't used to do it, but now I just love it, and I just think it looks nice. So I normally keep it between 4 and 6 for this sim of this size. So let's keep it. Let me see what 6 looks like. 6 looks just, it's okay. Let me try 4, 4 is too thin for me, so I think I'm gonna keep it as 5. And keep it as white. You can make it black or whatever color you want. I just prefer white because it just looks nicer and more professional. So it's really up to you. You can go and add the stroke on the inside of the sim like that, so it makes the sim appear thinner. Or you can add it on the outside, or I think the centered is a bit weird, but I never use that. So let's go add it on the outside. I prefer the outside, it looks nicer anyway. I want to keep the wisp as it is because it looks nice, so it adds more detail to her hair, so I'm going to keep it like that. And that is basically the blending options done. And then I'm going to go press OK. And now, as you can see, it's a little bit of jagged edges and I don't like that. So I'm going to go to my eraser tool again, right click it and then click the eraser tool. I keep it as the hardness 100% and I normally have the size most likely 30 or something like that, or 29, I don't really care. And then I'm going to go and press Ctrl+ to zoom in. And then just crop a little bit around the sides. When you have a stroke layer, it just gets a little bit of the stroke, so it makes it look neater. It's still getting rid of the parts that are not needed, so I just add a little bit, not too much, to make it a little bit more smooth. So that's what I do. And then I do the same on the other side as well, and around this arm here. You have to be careful and gentle when you're doing this, because when you go over her hand or something like that, it will start to look weird, so you can easily undo that. And now what I'm going to do before I carry on even more is I'm going to now save the file as a project, and then save it as a Photoshop PSD or PDD, and then save, and it'll come up with this, and then click OK. So now the sim it's okay now, and I like the way she's turned out. So now what I do is add a little bit of editing effects, some brightness, some contrast, some vibrance to make her stand out in the thumbnail. So what I'm going to do now is to go to adjustments and then click brightness and contrast. I don't want to make it too bright where she turns out like this, because that's not a nice look in any kind of way. I don't want to wash her out her true colors, so I'm going to keep her roughly at 40% because she's still bright and vibrant, but also you can still see a lot more of her features and her eyes as well. Her eyes are glowing. And then I'm going to add some contrast and put the contrast up as 15%. because it adds a little bit of an orangey feel to her face. Next I'm going to do is to go to adjustments again and then add vibrance, and this adds a little bit more vibrance to her face. Don't make it too harsh because it'll turn her orange and it's not nice in any kind of way. So just turn her into, I want to put her as 40% as well. I'm not going to add saturation because it makes her look orangey like this, and it's not nice. So I think I might add a little bit of saturation, roughly 10%, and there she looks really nice. You can still see her true colors and her eye makeup even more, and she looks really, really good. So I like that. I may add a second picture, I'm not sure yet, so let me just go and get rid of this background so I want this picture to be added to. And now let's go and apply a sharpen, and she looks really HD. And then we're going to go ahead and move that to the thumbnail as well. So here it is, and obviously if you move it below the layers of the vibrance and the brightness, it will apply the same vibrance and brightness to the sim, so it's absolutely fine. She's still the same color and everything like that. So I'm going to go ahead and stretch her by pressing Ctrl+T, stretch her just a little bit like this, roughly the same size as the other photo, not too much and stuff. This seems a bit too much, so drop her down a little bit, and let's go and click apply. So as you guys can see, they're both the same level, the same height and stuff like that. Obviously it's a different pose, so it's quite different. If you want to rotate your sim, you can go ahead and do that by pressing Ctrl+T and then right click on it when it has this box around it, and then it will say rotate, flip horizontal or flip vertical. Obviously vertical will be upside down, so it's a bit weird, but you can go and undo that, and then you can go ahead and flip horizontal, which makes her the opposite side like this. So it's really up to you on what you think looks good, but for me this looks nice and I like this actually. I feel like this one looks nicer because it's roughly the same amount, so I like this one a lot better. So I'm going to keep it as this and go and apply transformation. And what I'm going to do is a little trick of mine that I do. Instead of me adding all the stroke and the drop shadow over and over again, I'm going to right click on this layer here, this one of the first sim that I did, right click it, and then it will say copy layer style. So I click on that and then click on a new sim layer and then click paste layer style, and it will paste exactly the same style that she has on the previous layer. So it's basically mirrored and there's nothing that you have to keep adding over and over again, so it looks quite nice. I'm gonna go and tidy this sim up because it's a little bit out of place, like with a wisp, a little bit too much. So just tidying up a little bit, probably move her up a little. Yeah, I like the way the sim has turned out, but I'm just gonna play around with some things to see how it would turn out. So I'm gonna click on top of this layer here, the vibrance one, and then I'm going to click the rectangle tool, and then make sure the rectangle has no stroke but have a white fill, because we're gonna start and fill that in. And this is a thumbnail I've been doing recently, and I don't know why, but I just like doing it. So let's go ahead and just draw a little rectangle box here. And you see this box here. So now this box is where I want it to be. So now what I'm going to do is to go ahead and click on a text and add the text to the background over here. So her name is Lacey, so I'm gonna write Lacey. Go ahead and bring this text out, and the text is called Baby's Newbie Regular, and you can find this on thefont.com. And I'm gonna keep the text as most likely black because of the white box. So add it black. I'm not gonna add any drop shadow or anything like that to the text because it will make it look weird. But I'm gonna add the text over here. Just make sure it's in the middle of the box, and you can tell it's in the middle because of this red, a bit pinkish line to show it's the middle of the box. So yep. And what I'm going to do is to go click on the rectangle tool, and then Control T, zoom in by pressing Control plus, go down, and then crop the box towards the letter just a little bit, leave a little bit of a gap so that it's not too cramped together, like this. And there you go. And then zoom out again, and it seems like the text is quite small. I didn't think about that, so let's just click apply. And let's move the text, make it bigger. So let's go make it 36 because I like it. And let's go back and click on the rectangle tool, and then press Control T again, zoom in, and let's just make it larger to the actual text. Zoom it out a little bit more, other side, and make sure it's in the middle, just make sure. And it seems to be in the middle roughly. Okay, it's now in the middle, so let's go and press apply transformation. So the text is where I want it to be, and I like where it's turned out. So now what I'm going to do is to duplicate the rectangle tool by right clicking and click duplicate layer, and press OK, and then press Control T so that you don't move the text whilst you're trying to drag the rectangle tool out. So press Control T so you know where it is, and then drag it out of that bit there, and then press apply. Next thing I'm going to do is to duplicate the Lacey text, and then duplicate layer, OK, and then drag the Lacey text out onto the new box, and it's perfectly fine there. So I like the way it's turned out. So now what I'm going to do is to flip the colors around. So since the background is roughly like bluish something, I want the text to be like turquoise blue, teal kind of blue, something pastel, and I like that. Instead of adding the color to the background, I'm going to turn the background completely black. So how to do that is to go on this bit. This should be a properties option up here. So I'm going to go ahead and click on this color and then add it as black. So now it will change the color of the background, of the rectangle background. And I'm going to go to the Lacey copy text and right click blending options, and then add a color overlay to that text, which will now turn out to be something like this. And I like that, it looks really nice. So let's add a nice teal color, and I'll press OK, and then press OK again. So as you can see, it's all added into a box. So what I'm going to do now is to change the text. So I'll write the text here, and then I'm going to, her last name is Brown, and press OK, and then go to rectangle tool, Control T, zoom in. And what I'm going to do is to stretch it over the new text here. And that is perfectly fine. Apply that transformation. So now what to do when I want to move all the layers at once. Press Control and add the first Lacey text, and then move that around together. You don't have to merge anything together. Then I'm going to go and click on a new rectangle layer, and then Control and the brown text, and then move that down to the lacy brown. So now the texts are aligned and where I want it to be. So what I'm going to do now is to go and click on the first rectangle shape and press Ctrl and then add all the other text together like that. Then press Ctrl T and it will join the text together like this, so you can move around wherever you want it without changing any shape and size. And you can also do this by stretching out like this. You can stretch it to make it bigger or smaller, it's really up to you, so that the text still remain the same size as the rectangle boxes. And what I'm going to do now is to drop it down a bit of a size and then turn it a little bit to the side, move it up and press Ctrl to move it around more freely. Let go of my mouse and then let go of Control, and then it's perfectly where I want it to be. So let's now go and apply that transformation. So now the text has come up where I want it to be and it looks really good. The final things I do is to now go and click on the orb overlay background layer, go onto rectangle, change the fill to no fill, change the stroke to white and keep it at 1.6. You can change it if you want to, but I mostly keep it as that until I've placed a rectangle. And now I'm going to go to a corner over here, roughly the same size, drag the rectangle tool until I start seeing the red lines in the middle. So the red lines come up there in the middle, and then let's see if it's come up horizontally. Almost. It just takes a bit of time. Yep, and now come up with both sides, so let go. And it will build the rectangle tool behind the Sims. And now what I do is to now change the rectangle size. So I'll put it as 2.6, press enter, and it'll make it quite thick. It's really up to you what you want to do, but I like it thick and I like to stand out a lot. So now what I want to do is to go up to this blend mode here for that layer and then click on soft light or overlay. So now it has this kind of invincible kind of border around it, so it looks quite good and I think it's turned out really cool. I like that. So I'm going to add a nice final touch to it now and click on the first background layer, which is this one, and then I'm going to go to filter, render, and then lens flare. So this adds a little bit of a different kind of orb depending on where the light is coming through the picture, and I like that a lot. So let's go and drag it over to this corner right here. So it adds a little bit of orb. You can see where the orb is over here, so it adds a little bit of an orb to the background and it looks pretty cool. You can add it anywhere you want, but I like it mostly in the corners. So let's add it over there, and it comes with a little light orb here. You can't really see it, but I personally love it that way, and it's really cool. So now the final thing I want to do is to add a layer above the rectangle layer here. So go over here and click add new, create a new layer, and this will create an invisible layer. And let's go move the layer above the pictures, just a bit above the pictures and the vibrance and stuff. Put it over here, and now let's go add a little bit of sparkle to her eye and make it small so it's right there, so you can see like it looks sparkle and it's quite nice. Now I'm going to add little sparkles to the background. Let's go increase the size a bit and add one over here, and then let's add a larger one of this kind of size somewhere over here, and then add a larger size somewhere just about here. And you can rotate these things however you want it. So I want to rotate it just a little bit and move it down a bit, and then add it over here. You can't really see some, but I don't want it to be too outstandable, so add a little bit of size, rotate it again, and then add it somewhere there, and change the size a bit, rotate it another way down here, and let's go and have it somewhere up there. Rotate the size again, drop the size down, and then add it over here. So it's all different shapes and sizes, and that is what I like. So now what I'm going to finish off with is to go click on the layer where all the stars are, and then drop the opacity down to roughly 75%, so it's not too understandable, but also it's quite nice to the eyes. And there is my thumbnail. So as you guys can see, if you zoom out a lot with Control Dash, you can see that it's pretty understandable, and this is normally what the YouTube subscription box thing looks like. This is a size, as you can see the text very well, you can see the sim very well, you can see the background and the detail of the sim very well, and obviously when you get close it looks even better. So I like the way she's turned out. So normally I add my word mark off camera, so I would do that after this so that no one knows where the word mark is. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new around here, it really does mean a lot, and I will see you all in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.